Your standards don't have to be on the floor. I always had a tendency to put my lover on a pedestal, and having a strong sense of self will also prevent you from changing your boundaries for someone else. Be aware of spiritual ego. Hello, my fellow Earth Angels. Thank you so much for being here and joining me today. I'm so excited to dive into this conversation around spirituality and dating. I don't mean to brand everything as spirituality, but in my lifestyle, I have a very particular, thing that I'm seeking in a partner, because I do believe that partnerships are here to help us grow, evolve, and walk each other home to the purest form of unconditional love. And I don't want any surface level connection. I don't want a connection where we're both just satisfying each other's egos or tethered to this third dimension. I want a partnership where I'm so full on my own and I'm being met by someone who equally feels that full on their own, and coming together from that place to create our wildest dreams and do the most good upon this earth and help each other to evolve consciously. So that's just a little bit about me and the way that I date now and go about finding a companion or lover of any sort is just a lot different than how it used to be back in the day. Even when I had started my journey, it was just a completely different energetic mindset when I was dating. So I wanted to share with you some dating advice that I feel like is just so deeply ingrained into my mind and body now, and I thought maybe it could be helpful. I want to start off with the number one thing that will bring you success in your dating experience, and that is knowing yourself deeply, spending intimate time with yourself, knowing your triggers, knowing your coping methods, knowing what season of life that you're in, knowing how to be alone. This will allow you to have such a strong core base within yourself so that no matter what comes and goes, you feel a certain level of a contentment and non-attachment to an external thing, namely a person. This will give you the confidence to be more discerning in your relations. If something doesn't feel fully in resonance, you're not going to project an idea of that person onto them or feel like, if without this person, what will I be? Because you have just such a good relationship with yourself and with your community and friends and have other stable support in your life, that will prevent you from falling into a partnership and being extremely codependent and attaching your self-worth and your joy and your happiness onto another person. So I highly recommend first just getting comfortable with yourself, finding stability in your life in ways that are consistent so that you don't have to attach to something that may or may not fully be for you. And having a strong sense of self will also prevent you from changing your boundaries for someone else, which is something that I used to do all the time. I always had a tendency to put my lover on a pedestal and just see everything that they desired as so much more valid than my desires and my needs. And I think spending that time alone really helped me to become my best friend and honor my needs just as much as my partner's, and has allowed me not to force things when they don't work out, because honestly, the way that I view things now is that I'm just gonna live my best life and do what I need to do to fulfill my dharma, to serve my highest mission, to get my shit done basically, and evolve consciously. And if someone else is on a similar path, or someone else just naturally falls into my life and things just work and we connect deeply and are both still able to be on our own paths, then I'm gonna celebrate that and show up for that. But I'm not at a point in my life where I feel like it's worth it to force anything at all. And I think that that's how I'm gonna move forward in my life in the long term, because when it comes to two people coming together, I don't think that you should have to really force that connection or force the lifestyles to be similar. That's something that really has created so much ease in my dating as I've gotten older, is I usually end up dating people who also eat a plant-based diet, who also do yoga, who also meditate, and it's just a natural thing, and it makes our partnership so much better because we're both already doing those things on our own, and then we have this amazing shared connection that can go so deep, through the practice. Know what you're looking for, and I don't necessarily mean have a checklist, but I am going to get into some red flags later in this video. But just know the positive qualities and things that are, I guess, like hard boundaries for you in the way that you want someone to show up for you. And you can write a thank you letter to them. In this thank you letter, filling yourself with so much joy and gratitude for having found this person, and write, I love and appreciate the way that you always make time to have intimate moments together. I am so grateful for our sexual connection because it feels so healthy and balanced. I can't believe I have found someone who is so good at communicating and I never have to worry. I bow down on my knees and worship you because of how met and seen and comfortable you make me feel. And just go on and on, preferably in your manifestation journal, about how incredible this person is, about how incredible you feel, and how grateful you are for this connection, and how happy that you are that they even exist on this earth and that you can bear witness to their existence. That level of just pure joy and love for another being, and resting in that frequency of gratitude while you write this will be really helpful. This is a manifestation tool. After a while of dating, you can start to feel like, are my expectations unrealistic? Like, is it really that hard to find someone who just doesn't gaslight me, or who can just show up for me and listen and hold me in the way that I hold space for them? And I think that in those times when I have given up on the potential of finding someone who meets me in all ways, I just retreated into myself. I was like, maybe I just need to elevate my frequency and stand in my practices, be the frequency and have the qualities that I wish to find in someone else. And every single time I've retreated into myself for personal growth and evolution, I have naturally attracted someone who feels so aligned with my energy and has felt like such a juicy connection. Your standards don't have to be on the floor, and the right people will meet you where you're at, and you shouldn't have to be pulling someone up all the time to meet you and look in your eyes. You know, you will find someone who's your height, if you know what I'm saying. Sometimes you need to take the step and take the action of releasing partnerships and even friendships that aren't fully respectful to your sovereignty and your spirituality. And when you do that, you will make space for those connections that do feel fully aligned. I feel like I also just date my best friends, so all of this advice can really be implemented into all of your relations as well. But I really quickly wanted to segue into the sponsor of today's video, which is BetterHelp. Is there something interfering with your happiness, or perhaps preventing you from achieving your goals, like a toxic friend, like not having the best connections around you in your life? BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist, and you can start talking to a professional within 48 hours. It's not a crisis line, it's not self-help, it's professional counseling done securely online. There's a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's 1,400 plus counselor network that may not be available to you in your area. And this service is available for clients worldwide. You can log on at any time and send a message to your counselor. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't have to wait in an uncomfortable waiting room like you do in traditional therapy. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change your counselor if necessary. Plus, it's more affordable than traditional counseling, and financial aid is also available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today, and if you would like to try them out, you can visit betterhelp.com/Hitomi, that's better HELP, and join the over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. And for the Earth Angels watching this, if you go to betterhelp.com/Hitomi, you will get 10% off of your first month so that you can start feeling comforted and making progress in your own mental health journey. Communication is so important when you're dating. I highly recommend being so communicative about what your needs are, what phase of life that you're in, and if you're looking for just a sexual connection, this is something that should be communicated on the first or second date, honestly. And it can feel intimate and vulnerable and weird, but it is creating space for, I feel like, the level of communication that you probably want to have in a partnership or friendship anyway. And also you can decide in that moment, then let's just be friends. Let's just like be homies then if our energy energy feels really good together, but we're looking for different things, maybe we can just find an in-between and make a good friend. I've definitely done that. And going along with that, I do think it is good to be aware of how quickly you want to share your sexual energy with someone else. What are you comfortable with? I definitely recommend having the communication and important conversations about what you're looking for before you share your sexual energy, and having your needs and your heart feel seen before you share your body with someone will make the connection even juicier, because you have that deeper level of intimacy with someone else. Even if you both decide to be casual or see how things go, it's just like there's a different level of safety that you probably feel with someone, knowing where their mind is at in regards to your connection. And I feel like I might sound so overbearing about trying to make everything safe when so many things are unspoken, I feel like, in the dating world, but these are just things that I do. For me, every single time I share my orgasm with someone, there's an imprint that happens. I think it's a psychological thing as well when you orgasm. Another thing to be aware of is if you enjoy the validation someone gives you when you're with them, or if you just enjoy the person, I feel like it can be really easy to confuse the two, especially if you're bored or you're just kind of dating for fun and you think that you really like someone. It's just good to check in with yourself. Do I like the way that this person makes me feel, or do I just like the person? Do I appreciate and feel this kinship and adoration for their spirit? Watch someone's actions, not just what they say. Like, genuinely, how do they show up to the world and how do they treat those around them? I think it's such a turn on when the person that I'm dating is just genuinely nice and kind to waiters, to the person at the gas station, to random people they run into. It's just like, wow, yeah, you're just a kind human being and it's not a facade. Everyone is worthy of respect. We can do so much just by being kind to one another. And I just want to remind you that it's okay to surrender to love, to allow yourself to be worshipped and fully seen, and that it is safe to worship and fully see others, especially when it feels really aligned and when you have been doing that inner work on yourself and you feel met in every single way. It's just like, am I really worthy of this? Is this safe for me here? And a lot of stories and narratives and fear from your past can rise to the surface, and try and breathe into the present moment experience that you're having, and know that not everyone loves in the same way, and that some people will be tender with your heart and see you fully and know the miracle that you are. Breathe that in. And also, when you're falling in love, it can be tricky to decipher whether a message or thought may be coming from your fear-based mind or your intuition. It's like, is this person being sketchy, or is it just my past trauma talking? That question arises a lot when I have been dating people, and what really helps me is to wait until I'm in a higher vibrational consciousness, a higher vibrational frequency, and tuning in with that same thought or message. Does it still feel resonant now when I'm happy and in a trusting, loving state within myself? Does this still feel something I should be aware of if something is coming from your mind or your body or guides? So that's just a little tidbit that usually works. Feel into things and let yourself be on that edge of vulnerability with someone. Just feel alive, you know, in those moments where it's crazy how badly and deeply you're craving someone else. It's just beyond you. I love that. Love is so powerful. And I wanted to kind of share some red flags. First thing is, how intimate are they with their emotions, with their sense of self? I feel like it's a red flag for me if a person that I'm dating demonizes emotions or makes me feel like sensitivity is a bad thing, because anyone who has done shadow work, who has sat intimately with all that comes up for them in this life, will know that emotions and traumas and the areas of density are where we can shine the most light on and gain the most wisdom from. I feel like anyone who has gone through hell and back within their own consciousness would know the birthing process that resting in denser emotions really is. And when I've dated people in the past who said that they never cried, or say that being sensitive or emotions is a feminine trait alone, I just kind of slowly phase them out of my life. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's like, I want to be met at a level of depth where we know that everything coming up for us is yoking us into a deeper embodiment with the divine and breaking through the illusions of this world. And I know that sounds deep, and it is that deep, honestly, because I have been in a long-term partnership with someone who wasn't intimate with their emotions, and it was on the surface like they were seemingly fine and reserved and, you know, stable all the time, but they were actually more sensitive than I was, more sensitive than anyone that I knew, because so much was tense and tight inside of them that they were holding on to that they didn't have space to release. That a single poke in the wrong place could just make them shatter and emotionally react and actually just come out as anger. Anything that we're running away from actually takes hold of us even stronger, which is why looking at the shadow, looking into the areas of vulnerability, sensitivity, and hurt can actually empower us so much, because we aren't being controlled by the story anymore. We've sat intimately with it, we've communed with it, and now we've gained the wisdom from it. Next red flag is if you're being gaslit. I don't know how long people date for. I don't know how long you date until you're in a relationship, but gaslighting can sometimes come after a lot of love bombing and someone acting like the perfect person for you in their life, and then little manipulative things start to come up that make you question your sanity, or if you had valid concerns or observations or boundaries and then they make you feel bad for having those. Any form of manipulation that makes you start to question your sanity or your memory, it's like red flag, run. Another thing I'm aware of, particularly when I'm dating men, is how they speak about their mom and their sisters and their exes. Basically any woman who they know intimately or deeply in their lives, how do they talk about them? And honestly, I actually have dated guys who have been really toxic, who spoke, you know, so highly of their parents, so it's not really that big of a testament to someone's character if they speak highly of their mom or, you know, their exes. But it can be a red flag if they are just really not polite in their language toward their mom or their exes or their sisters. It depends the relationship, obviously, with their mom, but you know, any woman in their life, how do they reflect on their connection with them? I feel like the most mature men that I have dated have only spoken the praises of their exes, even if they were extremely toxic, you know? They would always finish off the story with like, but you know what? It wasn't just them. I could have shown up better. I could have communicated better. And I send that person love now. When I hear that, I'm just like, yes. It's just a sign of maturity and respecting women and respecting the feminine. If they think that they're too good for anything because it's traditionally a feminine thing, that's a red flag to me, that they don't have a sense of security within themselves, within their own masculinity, to know that you can like pink without it being girly, without you being gay, that you can hug your guy friends and not say no homo. Like little things like that. It just honestly turns me off when there's this really strict gender, I feel like, identity and gender norms ingrained in the person that I'm seeing's mind, because I know that it's all fluid. You can wear whatever you want and like different kinds of music and films and be sensitive, and that doesn't dictate your gender at all, and how that doesn't necessarily determine your sexual preference. It's just a level of maturity that I really appreciate. And also the way that they show up for themselves will be reflective of the ways that they can show up for you. And it's really nice to be with someone who does have a little bit of groundedness in their life so that your connection can feel more grounded. Okay, last red flag tangent is spiritual ego. Be aware of spiritual ego. There's this I will heal you complex that I have seen. Even I've seen as far as I will heal you with my eggplant. Like there are people who maybe they believe that they've reached a point where anyone that they sleep with, they will heal, but it was actually really toxic and manipulative when this happened to my friend. It was like, I met you under the premise that you were going to help me and hold space for me, and then you used it for your own agenda, basically to get laid, and called it spiritual healing. And that is a no-no. I cannot with this like undercurrent that kind of happens sometimes when people start on their path and they start to have these experiences of divinity and then think that they are above someone else, or think that no matter what they do, because they're filled with this divine energy, they can disregard other people's needs and emotions or gaslight others. So definitely be aware if someone is spiritually bypassing your emotions. Like, I'm sorry I did that. It's just that I was called to sleep with this other person. Spirit told me to da 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 da. It's just like, make sure they can take accountability for their actions and not blame it on spirit, or not use their spiritual connection as a way to bypass your very valid needs and feelings. And another version of spiritual ego can sometimes come out as the person that you're with thinking that they know everything and therefore not being teachable, especially in the, I guess, dating in the wellness world. A lot of people I've dated have done yoga teacher trainings or have studied with gurus or masters in their wellness practices, and then I can come to them, you know, with my lineage experience and my, you know, understanding of divine cosmic energy, and then they completely dismiss it because it doesn't align with what they believe. But I think it's really important to still be open to hearing everyone's perspectives and being teachable and being a perpetual student, because that's how you continue growing, not completely dismissing someone else's experience or embodiment of spirituality. And I feel like it can be a form of spiritual ego when someone just believes that their path is the literal only way to spiritual enlightenment. So I'm just aware of that. I think that all things can be an open conversation. To finish off this video, I just wanted to share that it can be really easy to meet people that you align with. For example, going to a yoga class consistently, there might be some cuties around, doing sound healings, doing meditations. I know the world of COVID is really weird right now and a lot of yoga studios aren't open, but I know there are studios doing classes outside and outdoor meditations. Now it's getting warmer, so maybe you can just find different classes or events that may be happening that interest you, and just keep doing the things that make you really happy and going to the spaces that you enjoy, and then you might just end up meeting someone there. And I feel that that's kind of the way that I date now, which feels much more organic than when I first moved to New York City and I was using dating apps, because it was really hard for me to meet people because I wasn't putting myself out there. But then I started going to the Bhakti Center on First and First, which probably is closed right now, but they would have free chanting every Thursday, and I just started to make friends in the spiritual community, and I started going to free art gallery nights at museums, which I know the museums are open in New York. There's usually at least one night a week that is by donation for New York residents, so I started going to those and just doing free things. I haven't been on dating apps in a really long time, and I'm really grateful for that, just because the whole process of swiping through just didn't feel good to me, and I'm so bad at messaging people back that it was just kind of pointless. And actually I did go on a dating app I think like 6 months ago, and I just ended up FaceTiming the person within the first 2 days of us talking, and I just knew our energy didn't feel good together. I think that for me, I just much rather have a quick in-person kind of conversation with someone to see if it's worth messaging them for weeks before we even meet up. And I have also used dating apps for meeting up with queer femmes, because I think my gaydar is just not super refined. But a lot of times when I've dated girls, it has been through dating apps, and it feels different dating girls through dating apps versus dating men. There's just naturally a deeper emotional connection, and it's like, okay, we know that we're both looking for a woman or femme person, so we already have that checked off. Now let's just fall in love. It's just different, and it's like more than just a sexual thing, which I feel like a lot of men on dating apps are just looking for more of a casual thing, but that might just be my experience. In conclusion, I would just like to say that all of your desires, boundaries, needs are so worthy of being met in every single way. You deserve to feel full body yeses when you're with someone. All of that is coming so long as you continue showing up and making a spiritual effort on your own path every day, and continuing to commune with spirit, with your guides, with your intuition, and taking care of yourself. Honestly, whatever whatever you want to attract, you need to first embody and be that first. You don't attract necessarily what you think about, you attract what you take action on and the frequency that you're resting in at the moment. Instead of carrying a frequency of wonder, of attachment, of yearning, carry a frequency of the totality of bliss and joy and magic that is around you in every moment. Carry the frequency of feeling fully held, of trusting fully that if someone is meant to come into your life, that they will, of having that pure knowing. I feel like that is where you will really attract the right people into your life, a lover or a friend. And these are just some things that have worked for me and things that I'm aware of. To be honest, I don't really like dating. It can feel so exhausting. And so, like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm not in a point where I'm actively seeking anything or forcing anything. I just live my best life and show up in my fullest embodiment. And if anyone kind of comes along and we just get along, then I move forward in that direction with them. But otherwise, I'm not seeking. I feel so whole and complete on my own, and that is a wonderful feeling. Thank you so much for watching and for joining me today, for showing up on your own path, for having hope, for believing, for feeling deeply. Thank you for showing up just as you are. I cherish you so deeply, and I'll see you in a video soon. Bye!